Hello and welcome to another episode of our Brothers Creed podcast, where we inspire fathers to build the blueprint for the next generation. We are the Thomas Brothers, and I'm Jared.
And I'm Ethan. And today, this is actually going to be our first episode of 2025. So if you're listening to it in this year, that's great. If you're in like the year 2030 and you're listening to this, then
Still a good episode.
55, you'd be like, oh man, looking back. So as Jared and I typically do kind of at the beginning of the year is we kind of do an episode about our maybe a little bit looking retroactively in the previous year and then looking forward to the next year. Previously, we've shared some goals and different things we have for the next year. This year's going to be a little bit different. We're going to kind of share some things we want to stop doing that we have previously doing, and then things we want to start doing in this next year or this upcoming year. And so maybe more behavioral than goals oriented, but I think it'll be really good. It was a really good exercise for me to kind of go through and think through a lot of these things. So it's going to be a good episode.
Let's dive in.
Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day.
You should be a monster, an absolute monster, and then you should learn how to control it.
No retreat, no surrender.
You can't conceive of what I'm capable of.
There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
What we do in life, that goes in eternity.
All right, so with this episode, like you said, we're doing a little bit different. We're going to do some starts and some stops. So Ethan and I each came up with 5 starts and 3 stops. Although some of my stops are kind of like starts. I'll have to say. So how about we do
stop and start something different.
Yeah, stop not doing this and then do it. So how about we go back and forth, and maybe you do one, and then I'll do one. Let's do a start. Let's each do a start, and then we'll each do a stop.
Okay.
Why don't you go first, or you want me to go first?
I was just going to say kind of at the beginning that this is, at least for me, right, it was less about like very specific, like your SMART goals, right, and more about behaviors. Now, for me, as I was going through my starts and stops, some of these kind of turned into like we might have some goals that are tied to helping me change some of these behaviors that kind of will help add to this personal growth that I want to do. I didn't specifically go into what those might be, but for me, I have my own list of things, and I kind of like, oh man, I'm going to add this to my list. So there are a lot of things from this past year that I want to keep doing that I think have really added to my personal creed. Things that we've talked about in the podcast or that I've learned from preparing for the podcast or from other people, from my own experiences. And so there's a lot of things I'm going to keep doing, which keep wasn't really on the list. We just have starts and stops, but that's fine. So one of my stops, and these are in no specific order, but I'll start with the lighter one.
Okay.
My one thing that I want to stop doing is I am a habitual snacker, particularly in the evenings. So, kids go to bed 8:30, 9 o'clock,
Oreos,
plop down on the couch. Yeah. And then, maybe watch some YouTube, maybe put on a movie, even we're just hanging out with my wife or whatever, put on a movie. And then, next thing I know, I've got a whole sleeve of Oreos in my gullet. And I'm like, oh, what the heck just happened? Right? So one thing that I want to stop doing is I want to stop eating past 9 o'clock. I think a lot of times I'm not even really hungry. I think a lot of times it's almost like I'm bored, or
it's a dopamine. You're seeking dopamine.
Yeah.
And so you're like,
I'm seeking some kind of dopamine hit or whatever else. And so, while watching TV, maybe instead of maybe if I did something more productive in the evenings than just sitting there scrolling TikTok or whatever, for hours or social media or watching Netflix, maybe if I did something more productive, then I wouldn't just be like, searching for that dopamine hit or just out of boredom going and eating a bowl of cereal. I'm a sucker for cereal at night. I'll have a thing of Fruit Loops or Fruity Pebbles or Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I'm just like, oh man, I'm a sucker for that. So that is my first stop. I want to stop eating at 9 o'clock every day.
That's good. Might I offer a suggestion or a few suggestions? One thing you can do is go brush your teeth and then just be like, all right, I'm done eating tonight. I already brushed my teeth. So that way I don't have to do it before I go to bed. And so that's like almost a little bit of a barrier to be like, oh, I already brushed my teeth. And
yeah,
so
my wife does that sometimes.
I'm not going to go, and if your breath is clean, then maybe something might happen, You never know.
Yeah.
There's alternative
like, hey,
benefits.
honey, I just brushed my teeth. It's just like blowing her face or something.
She's like, ooh, there's nothing that turns me on more than that.
Yeah.
So brush your teeth. And one thing that Shannon and I do is that we kind of have two snacks kind of planned into the evening. One is we make like a protein shake that we both split. So it's really healthy, helps us get that protein. It's essentially just a couple bananas, a couple very small slices of banana, milk, some protein powder, a little bit of oats, and some like flavor, or some like vanilla and stuff. So that's pretty much, and a little bit of coconut. So we drink that, and then right before we go to bed, we drink a little. It's like a magnesium and cherry juice. It like helps you just like wind down, and that magnesium helps you sleep better. So that's kind of like a little bit of a treat as well, because it's like a drink. We put it in a cup and then we pour like a half of a like carbonated just water in it, so that it's like a little bit bubbly. And that's kind of two treats almost before you go to bed, but they're very low caloric, almost no calories, and it's high protein, so it's good for you. It's just not like a bunch of Cinnamon Toast Crunch, So maybe try to build in something like that. That might help too. So just eating the right things and not just eating just to feed your. Because oftentimes that's why I will eat if I'm just feeling munchy or I'm feeling whatever. It's not because I'm hungry. It's just because I'm feeling like, I'm feeling like I need some dopamine or something like that. So those are suggestions, but that's a good thing. Those are some suggestions that I would give, because I do find myself like doing the same thing, and I'm just like, I'm not hungry. I'm just, or even if I eat dinner and I eat dinner and I'm like, I'm not any more hungry, but I want to get more, just because it's good or because it tastes good. And I'm like, don't do that. I'm trying to like just portion control for dinner. So
yeah,
that's good. Anything else on that one?
No, okay. That was my first stop.
So I would say one of the stops that I had was kind of similar to that, and it just as like social media time. I removed TikTok off my phone just because it just is very easy to get sucked in. So easy to get sucked in with TikTok, I feel like, because not only is it's like constantly entertaining and funny and whatever. So it's like, it's just very easy to get stuck into a cycle of that. And so I just have Instagram, and I limit that to about an hour a day. And then I do some other things. We'll talk about for a minute. I've been focusing on some trading in my brokerage account this year that I'll talk about in a minute, but just kind of just mindlessly scrolling or doing things like that. It's like if I find myself doing that, then I'm like, okay, I need to go find something else to do or find a more healthy alternative to getting the fix that I need or that I'm craving. You know what I mean? So I also
100% know
I
what
will
you mean.
notice that like if I'm at work and I'm like really frustrated doing something, I'm just like I don't want to be doing this, and then I'll just pull out my phone and just start scrolling. It's just like this is making me like, and it's so clearly I can see it. Like this is making me uncomfortable, and I don't like this problem that I have to deal with. I'll just go scroll. I'll just go scroll Instagram or go do something or whatever, or go watch Shane Gillis videos. And it's just like it's a lot easier than dealing with that problem at work. And so I kind of realized that, and I'm like, well, this is not really healthy. I mean, obviously sometimes it's good to just take a break, right? But when it's just like a constant like go-to, and I'm like, I'm always like battling that. I'm like, man, I gotta get rid of some of this stuff. I gotta get rid of this app. So if they ban TikTok, it's not really gonna affect me.
Yeah, all of our thousands of followers, I don't know what they're going to do.
Let's follow us on Instagram, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's true. No, it's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. So my next stop is something that my wife and I, it's kind of a behavioral pattern, right? My wife and I are both night people. And so it is very common for us to go to bed at, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. That's like a daily thing. And so I want to stop staying up so late. I've probably had this goal before, but, I'm like, I'm going to go to bed by 11 o'clock. It's like, I don't know. I think what I want to do is I want to stop staying up so late. So I want to be in bed, or at least the process started by midnight. And then kind of tacked onto this, I think it's the days that we do stay up until 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the morning. We'll wake up the next morning at 6:45 to get the kids and everything on the bus by 7:20. And then it is so tempting just to be like, I can crawl back in bed for 30 minutes. And so, especially kind of the last 6 months of last year, or kind of as when winter
The
started
last
getting a little bit cooler.
6 months of the year. You mean half the year? It's not like the last 6 weeks. It's the last 6 months.
It wasn't like a cliff. It just kind of like it was like a slow taper, and then like October, halfway through October, November, December, I was just like, oh man, like I'm going back to bed.
That's the last quarter, not the last
single
6
day.
months. Yeah.
I know. I said it started to taper off. Okay, the last quarter.
Okay.
I was like, oh man, we're staying up so late that I'm just crawling back in bed, and then that extra 30 minutes of sleep, or maybe even an hour if I didn't have maybe if I'm working from home or whatever, and I can push it a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll wake up, and then I'm like even more groggy than I was whenever I woke up at 6:45.
Yeah.
It's like I don't really think that hour really added anything.
Yeah.
So stop staying up so late, and then not stop crawling back in bed for that extra 30 minutes. But utilize that, and maybe I tie that to kind of a start. I don't have it as one of my starts, but utilize that time to be more productive. Maybe to read or exercise or meditate, or I don't know. But that was kind of my stop. Stop getting back in bed. Stop staying up so late.
Yeah, man. I don't know how you're not freaking exhausted going to bed at 2 o'clock.
Yeah,
I go to bed at 10. Sometimes we're usually head up to bed at 10. And then, we wake up usually last year we were waking up at 6 with the kids in the morning. And I just feel like I was exhausted all the time. But I was like, man, in fact, when I would see what's funny is, you're tired whenever you see movies of people sitting in interrogation rooms for hours on end, they spent 5 hours in the interrogation room, or they just had to wait all day, and I'm just like, that'd actually be nice. I would just take a nap. I would like to have to
Sounds
be
kinda
somewhere
nice.
for 5 hours and have no responsibility and just take a nap.
They were locked in a 2x2 cell for 10 hours straight. It's like, oh, geez.
Yeah, I was asleep.
Solitary
90%,
confinement
90%
for
of
6
that
months.
time. Yeah. So that's how you know you're tired. Whenever you start like dreaming of getting interrogated by the cops or just sitting in an interrogation room for 5 hours and just I could just take a nap
By
over
yourself,
here.
yeah.
No, that's a good one. I know that's a hard one because sometimes you and your wife have different schedules, but that's good. And I think that you'll feel that more energy to do the stuff that you want. Oftentimes when you take a nap like that, you don't fully get into like the REM cycle that you need to. And so you get interrupted and jolted out of like a lower, like a not as deep of a deep sleep. And then so it leaves you.
It's like not
more
as restful.
groggy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas on a regular basis, you kind of your body is used to waking up at that time, and so it's a little bit easier, and you're more awake. So I have one kind of related to sleep, and this one is a stop. It's stop ignoring my sleep. Sometimes I'm like, I'll just sleep. Like I'm like a 20-year-old guy, just like throwing myself in bed and just closing my eyes and being like, I'm going to have a great night's sleep. I just feel like that's not really working anymore for me. Sometimes, like whenever I do that, I've realized I just start breathing through my mouth more and my throat gets all like dry. And then, I got to get up and go pee in the middle of the night. I mean, so it's just like, I need to do more. I want to focus on getting better quality sleep. So some of the things is taking magnesium, having a wind down routine at night is so important. And I've done these things on and off, but I just need to take it more seriously and stop just like throwing myself in bed and be like, okay, good night. Having a wind down routine, turning the lights low, no overhead lights. We have several lamps in our living room that kind of set like an ambiance for kind of winding down. There's also some nose strips that I've been doing. So I'm sure you've seen some nose strips you put on your nose that kind of opens or flares your nostrils. I had bought some, but they were crappy, so they kept falling off. So I just stopped using them. And then I was like, okay, I got to go buy the other ones because I had purchased some other ones previously that like really helped. So they really helped me breathe through my nose. And when I breathed through my nose, I felt like I was going to be able to get a deeper sleep because I wasn't like, my throat wasn't so dry from breathing through my mouth. And also, I don't want to be a mouth breather because then I'll look like I'm freaking...
You want that chiseled jaw.
Exactly, man. Not that at this point it's going to matter, but still, it'll help me sleep better. And I guess, if I have that mild sleep apnea or something, I don't want to get a freaking CPAP machine, dude. So if I just put on these little nose strips and that helps, that'll be good. And we got a new bed, which is something that you need to get. We already talked about that last episode.
It's on the list, yep.
It should be at the top of the list for your year-end bonus. First thing, go into Mattress Firm like a king. I'm here to buy out the place. That's what you got to say. They're like, oh, doggy.
I need a mattress for every day of the week.
So we got that. So I'm taking this serious as a heart attack and really trying to improve that sleep so that I can feel energized and feel the energy that I need to get stuff done. And if you don't have the energy that you need to drive towards the goals that you have, it's hard to do that. It's hard to drive. It's hard to have the desire to do anything. So getting good sleep, getting good rest, especially if you're lifting and exercising and doing all this stuff, it's critically important. So glad to see that you're taking it seriously. Glad to see that I'm taking it seriously.
Yeah.
Starting now.
Thanks. Yes. Starting now. Great. Sleep. That's a good one. All right. My last stop, and we should probably hurry these up because we still got 10 more to go or 12 more to go.
We got time.
So my last stop, this one might be a little controversial.
How long has this been going? Just the last 12 months of last year.
Not that long. This last year, I feel that that I was maybe a little bit too obsessive over watching my finances. So what do I mean by this? Like daily going into, so there's different types of investments, right? Different types of finances, right? Like you have your kind of your daily budgeting and your spending and watching that. Then you have, obviously you can control that right now. And then you have your, maybe your brokerage account that's your live investments that are you can go in and watch the market and see what maybe these single stocks are doing here or there. What's my crypto doing? And then I have kind of more long-term stuff that's like a Roth IRA or a retirement account, a 401k that really is it's there and it is invested. And I found myself kind of obsessive compulsively, like going in every single day and checking, well, where's my 401k at? Or, where's this retirement account at? Or how much money do I have in my HSA? Or, it's stuff like that. That's like, I almost feel like I was too focused on the details and I didn't kind of trust myself enough to say, hey, I have set these things up. I have, appropriately allocated where things should be going and automatic things here. And these things are properly invested here in a long-term fashion. So I don't need to go in every single day and check and see what my, 401k is at because it's invested in more of a long-term, life cycle fund or whatever else. And so versus, some people have, 401k and different, maybe more short-term investments, which obviously you'd want to look at that more often. But I was doing it so much that I almost felt like it was like stressing me out a little bit. I was like, oh, my retirement account is only up, $25 today or something like that or whatever else. And it was just like, it was almost like I was pinching pennies on the future money that is 30 years away, which is not always a bad thing. And I think it's very important to know your numbers. But it was almost getting to a point to where like, I'd just be like, oh, I got to check the bank account. I got to check the bank account. I got to check the bank account. And, it was kind of driving me a little bit crazy. So I need to kind of let go a little bit, trust the process, trust the system that I have put into place. And, let the cards lie where they are. Obviously having, having control over what's going on to a certain extent. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I made that one
No,
make
that's good.
sense.
I don't know that that's controversial, but yeah, I mean, absolutely.
A lot of people are going to be like, oh, you have to know exactly where every penny goes. Every dollar goes somewhere. It's like,
yeah,
but
I mean, there's like
if
you
I'm
said,
not going to see that dollar for another 30 years, I don't know.
like obsessing about the ups and downs of the daily market for something that you can't even touch for the next 30 years. It's just kind of like, it's just the stress, additional stress that you don't need. You don't need to know what the ups and downs of the dailies are. Check it quarterly, check it monthly, and even then, just to rebalance, just to keep your thing in balance. That's a good one. Yeah. I mean, that's healthy that you have the self-aware enough to be like, hey, I'm getting a little bit too obsessed with this. I need to back off a little bit, ratchet down a little bit. This is giving me more negative than it is positive. So set it.
Well, and maybe I can funnel that energy into like actively looking for new investments or new, money making opportunities or, real estate or I don't know, like, am I burning my wheels over here when I could be, doing
something
putting
else.
down rubber somewhere else? Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta put down that rubber where it needs to go.
Yeah.
One of my negatives is, so this is an experiment. So this year, I did a little bit of an experiment. I had guys. I had you know what True Green is, or PI. That was what does PI stand for? Like Plant It Earth. Anyway, like lawn care services, not to cut my grass, but to come fertilize my grass and put pre-emergent down and make sure the grass is green and fertilized. So I had those guys coming, and then my wife was like,
Yeah, I fell for that.
I mean, my lawn
First
is looking great, and for a couple of seasons, and then it still does. And then my wife was like, "Well, we got bugs and we got mosquitoes around," and so then I was like, okay, so I ended up paying this bug guy to do this thing, and it was like $50 a month, and you know what? I didn't really see any difference, and so I was like, bro, I'm paying $50 a month for this bug guy to come. And that includes the off season when they don't come, which is a total racket. And then I'm paying at least $60 a time for some crackhead to come spray stuff haphazardly on my lawn. And I'm like, okay, I can do this myself. So this year, and also the last year, there was like so much rain that like there was a bunch of weeds coming up through the lawn. I called the place and I was like, yo, you guys said you would come out and you would do an extra treatment if there's weeds in the lawn. So can you come put the treatment? He's like, yeah, we'll come. And then like 3 weeks later, he calls me. They always call before they come and say, hey, this is Pi. You know, we're going to come out and treat your lawn for your regular treatment. I was like, bro, I called you guys 2 or 3 weeks ago, and you said you were going to come out and spray, and you didn't. He's like, yeah, well, that's because we were going to come in 3 weeks. I was like, well, what's the whole purpose of telling people that you would come out and spray?
Do an extra treatment.
Treatment, and say that if you're never actually going to do that. Well, we're coming in 3 weeks. He just kept saying, we're coming in 3 weeks. I was like, so why would you guys offer that if you're not actually going to do that? And he just kept saying, well, do you want us to come tomorrow? Well, we're coming in 3 weeks. It's been raining a lot. We're going to come tomorrow. And I'm like, yeah, but it was like talking to like a brick wall. I was like, dude, you are annoying me. And I just was like, just do it to the end of the season. And then I was like, I'm done, dude. So it's not I feel like it's super easy as long as you get the system down. So if I buy the right chemicals, I buy the right pre-emergence, they only come like 4 times. In fact, I have the list here. The thing here, I can show it on our YouTube. This is like their chart. They come early spring, late spring, summer, early fall, winter. That's all they come. And they put stuff down. It's like, bro, I could freaking order the chemicals and I could take 30 minutes and do it myself. You know, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different times a year. And I could probably do it with a whole lot less hassle than what these guys are putting me through. So I just have to get the system down, buy the chemicals so that I just go out to the shed, get it, and then do it. And it's that easy. And then same thing with pest control. I just need to buy the chemicals, go out to the shed, put in a little sprayer, walk around the house and spray. Take 30 minutes every 2 months or every month during the summer, you know? So I'm kind of going backwards and I'm creating systems that make it easy. Now, if I have to go to Home Depot every single time and look for the chemicals and go buy it and then guess what I need to do, no, that's not going to work. But if I know exactly what I need to do, exactly what I need to buy to make my grass look nice and to make the bugs go away, then it'll be super easy. So
yeah,
that's what
put together a schedule and then follow that schedule every year.
So trying to save money and I'm stopping all these services. Do the experiment this year. See if it's over. I mean, it might be too overwhelming for me, or I might just totally jack it up and screw my lawn up. I don't think it's going to happen, but we'll see.
It'll grow back.
Yeah, it'll grow back. It's Bermuda grass. It's durable.
Yeah, yeah. All right, that's good. All right, so that was 3 stops from me and 3 stops from Jared. So I think those are some great ones, some similar ones, right, on some of the things that we both had said. So cool. All right, well, let's get into our starts. What is something that a behavior that we want to start fostering in the new year? So my first one is I want to focus on physically building physical strength and endurance. So, I can go to the gym and I can lift and I can do different things, but I have felt more like it's a more nonchalant thing. Like it's like, oh, I'm just going to go to the gym and, I'm going to do some curls and, maybe some chest and I'll be good. Right. I want to focus specifically on strength and endurance. So, I want to like actually, it's been years since I have tracked my lifts. So, tracked my PRs and how much I'm lifting just on a time to time basis.
Yeah.
So, I want to do that. And as a result of that, or one of the things I want to kind of add into building strength and endurance is I really want to focus on my core muscles. And so as in like my abs, but also my core as in my back. I think a lot of my back issues have kind of come from instability in my core muscles. And so I just really want to strengthen the core as a whole. I think that will really help with kind of my low back issues. So
yeah, totally.
That's kind of number one start for me, a more focused effort on strength and endurance.
Nice. Between that and your new mattress, dude, you'll be cooking.
Man,
you'll be doing cartwheels, man.
Conquer the world.
Nice. Yeah.
And I haven't even gotten to my other 4 starts.
So I guess I'll share one that's similar is that I've also started this past year, just a small, about 7 months into the last 7 months or so, I've stopped going to the gym as well as I've been doing jiu-jitsu.
Oh, just the last 7 months?
Yeah, just maybe 8 months. Maybe 8 last months. Starting in October. Now I've been doing jiu-jitsu, which is a workout, but it's just not the same as going to the gym and lifting, running, kind of that cardio that you get. I mean, you do get cardio rolling and do jiu-jitsu, but it's still not the same as going to the gym. And so I'm hitting the gym back again. In fact, I was there this morning, 5:30. Boom, doing some.
Nice.
I did biceps and chest today, but also I worked out last week, dude, and I was so sore. That first time you go back into the gym, first time I went back in, I just did squats. I did probably 3 sets of 8, maybe. I was just doing relatively lower weight, but my legs were so dead that I could not even barely walk up the stairs. I was almost like crawling up the stairs on my elbows on the last couple days because my legs were so absolutely dead.
It's going down the stairs that's the worst.
Oh yeah, man. I was just awful. But yeah, getting back into it. So starting a more diversified gym routine, not just jiu-jitsu, but also some lifting and some running and strength training. We need to get into strength training? Mom and dad. Did you know that if people, like the number one indicator of people who are of a leading indicator of older people in their 50s and 60s being in an assisted living home in their 70s and 80s is if they do not do
low muscle mass,
if they do not do strength and mobility training, and mom and dad do not do that.
The just the health comparison from like a muscle mass perspective. I mean, obviously you can go overboard if you're like taking steroids, all this kind of stuff, but just having an increased amount of muscle mass is like a very important significant sign of health. So
Anyway, that's my start.
Okay.
Start diversifying my workouts.
All right, that's a good start.
I'll share another one. How about I share another?
Start getting sore.
Yeah, exactly. I'll share a quick one. So as everybody knows, I've been doing these special nights with my boys. Once a month, I'll do just like an hour special evening, just with me and them. One of the things I'm doing, actually, I'll combine 2 here. These are my 2 starts. One is I'm going to start doing at the beginning of every year, and I've done kind of this on and off with all the boys, but at the beginning of every year, when I do their special night, I'm going to do like a 30-minute interview with them on camera. Slash, I'm calling it like a podcast or whatever, just because they love it when I do my podcast. They like seeing all the equipment and stuff. But I'll probably just interview them for 30 minutes as like a half of their special night, just asking them questions, just seeing how they are. And then I obviously save that down to my Google Drive, which is my personal one, which is actually about full, so I need to start paying money for that one. But I think it'd be a cool thing to say, when they're older, say, hey, here's 18 different little short 30-minute clips of you each year. Wow, I haven't done it for all of them for 18 years, so at least they'll get maybe 8 for my oldest. But I have done other little things where I've recorded their voices and things like that, and little interviews. But yeah, so that's one thing I want to do. And the next thing, that's one start, and the next start is that my youngest son, he's 4 now, and he's old enough to where he's kind of realizing that I'm spending special time with him. So he's starting on the rotation for special nights. Maybe I'll just start with 30 minutes, though, not a full hour. But anyway, that's something that's very important to me, almost like I keep doing, but just wanted to say I was starting with my youngest, and now I'm doing all 4. It is a big time commitment. I mean, you wouldn't think. I mean, I do stuff with them all the time, right? But this is a special thing where it's just us, and they can stay up late, and it creeps up on you. So sometimes towards the end of the month, I'm like, okay, you get Saturday afternoon, you get Saturday evening, you get Sunday evening, and you get Sunday afternoon, And then we just spend an hour shooting bow. Because sometimes it's like we want to go shoot bow and arrows in the backyard, or we want to throw knives, or we want to do something outside. So we need to do it in the afternoon, but. Anyway, that's 2 of my starts. Or actually, that's 3 of my starts.
Yeah, so one of my starts was very similar to that, and I kind of was inspired by you and the system that you do, but I want to spend individual focused time with my family members. So that's, including my wife. So more specific and intentional date nights, or even just like getting off my phone at night and, us watching a movie together without any other electronics, right? Just cuddling on the couch and spending time with each other. And then focus time with each of the kids. So that's one of my starts that I do specifically want to do. Another one is for me is I want to read every day. I have not always been the fastest reader, right? There's some people that can like sit down and read like the whole 8th Harry Potter book in a week, right? Or 2 days. It's like friggin' 23,000 pages, or I don't know, however long it is. I remember as a kid, I never even made it through like the first Harry Potter book because I was like, man, this is so much stuff to read. Like, I don't even want to do this. And I just read slow. I don't know, maybe I'm dumb. But I just read slow. And so it's like, you remember the second Rocky movie when he's starting to do those commercials, and he's doing the commercials, and they have like the cue cards up there.
Oh yeah, and he can barely
read the cue cards because he doesn't know how to read. And then he loses his like kind of these. He gets kicked off the commercial because the producer's like, this guy can't even read the dummy cards, and and so then he started reading like every night. Like he started reading to Adrian, and he'd read a book, and it was like super rough. And then he read to her when she was in a coma in the hospital, and he would just read and read and read. And then he got a lot better at it. And actually he was like, he actually ended up being pretty sophisticated, and money probably helped with that. But I don't think at the point of not being able to read like Rocky did, but I want to read, not just listen. I like listening to audiobooks and stuff like that as well. But I want to have a book that I'm actually reading. I want to put my eyes on the page, and I want to just get better at not only, I mean, obviously I can read the words, but like comprehending what I'm reading and having it stick.
Yeah.
And I think just by continually just adding that in. I mean, I read a freaking ton of emails every day, but I don't think that counts.
It has to be something you enjoy. Yeah. Well, yeah. That's good.
So that's 3 of mine. Yeah.
Excellent. Something I'm trying to do as well. Between listening to books on tape, I'm trying to listen to a book now, which is actually really interesting. It's about an executioner from Germany in like the 1400s. And this guy would, it was a very lawless time, the medieval era. And he was essentially the executioner to bring to pass justice in this time. But people would view him as a pariah and all this kind of stuff. And so he wrote, this is real. This guy wrote all these journals about his thoughts and about just the profession and all those different kinds of stuff. And so it's kind of a really interesting book. I think it's called The Executioner's something or Life or something like that. But it's on Spotify. So you can just listen to it for free if you have, I think, premium or whatever. So anyway, I'm listening to that, but it's just listening to books, but also just reading just intaking knowledge. Not always does it have to be like, how do I build a multi-million-dollar business? It doesn't always have to be nonfiction. It could be something that just is entertaining, or it's okay to be entertained or to be, swept up in a book. That's what books are mainly for, and so. Or at least part of it, that's what entertainment was before we had television and stuff. And so, I think it's important to maybe pick a book that you really like, and then get sucked in, and then that'll really develop your passion for a love for reading. So it's good. I like that. I'm going to do that. I'm trying to do that too. That's a good start, or keep doing. Let's see. Another one of mine is. Let's see. I'll show my last two here. One is to start using my sauna more regularly. I kind of was using it quite a bit when I got it first. Then I kind of tapered off. Also, using my sauna in the summertime is kind of like, because it's already freaking hot outside and humid. But now it's in the wintertime. It's a real great way to warm up, to just get, toxins and stuff out of your skin. And there's so much science behind it and how it helps you in so many different ways. So want to try to start doing that more. Maybe just do it in 15, 20 minutes in the morning. You don't have to do it a whole lot. These saunas are cheap. If anybody out there, just go on Amazon. You could probably get a pop-up sauna. It's almost like an old telephone booth for like $150. I suggest getting the infrared ones, but some people have the steam ones, which is, you get soaking wet. You get wet either way. One is from sweat, one's from the steam and sweat. So depending on how wet you want to get, you can choose. But the infrared one works nice because I don't have to fill it with water or anything. I just have to jump in and just turn it on. Yeah. Actually, I turn it on, let it cook for 15 minutes, let it warm up for like 15 minutes, and then I go jump in. I just put it in my garage.
You got to preheat the oven a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And then the last one is, so I want to focus more on creating more of a passive income. And this is something that I've kind of discovered in the last month or so, is that there's kind of an investment strategy around purchasing high-yield ETFs. There's a handful of ETFs out there. When I say handful, I'm probably talking maybe 20 to maybe 50 ETFs that their whole purpose is to generate income. So these ETFs have like 15, 20% yields. Some of them have 50, 100% yields, and they pay monthly dividends. And so the idea is that I would like to get to a point. My first goal is to get to $5,000 in monthly revenue from these funds. And so I'm trying to funnel money in here and pick the right ones, diversify, try not to lose the value of the money that I have, but start generating that monthly cash flow. And then right now, I'm just kind of reinvesting it to go back in so that it can increase and compound monthly. So right now I'm at about $2,000 a month. But I would like to get to and my average yield is about 30-ish%. but I'm hoping to get to that $5,000 mark, and just by keep putting money in here. So this is almost I view it almost as like a business, right? Almost like a.
Do you actively manage it, or is it something that's like you just kind of put it in for a certain period of time, or are you pulling in, pulling out, putting in, pulling out?
I'm putting it in and watching it. If there's something that I do need to pull out, like if something is tanking, because some of these are more risky than others. I'm kind of diversifying here. Some of them are lower risk. Obviously, some are higher risk. Some of them are covered call strategies. Like one of the ones is there's a company called Yield Max. So if you search Yield Max funds, what they are is they're covered call strategies, which is if you own the underlying stock and then they sell a call to get that premium, and then hopefully those will expire worthless, and then that helps feed the dividend that you're getting. So some of them, like there's one is MSTY is the ticker. It's on MicroStrategy, and the yield is like 120%, and that pays monthly. So what that means is that if you had $1,000 in that, it would pay you 120% of that in dividends over that year. So you'd get $100 or $1,200 out of it in dividends, and that pays monthly, and you would still have your principal still in there, assuming that
$100 a month divided out by month.
Yeah,
$100 a month.
Assuming that it didn't erode over time, the value didn't erode.
Yeah.
Some of them do that. Some of them don't. Some of them are up and down. So obviously, there's some that are riskier than others, but it's kind of a cool way that I really want to focus on building income that I don't have to be spending my hours on or working on actively. And so I'm trying to funnel money into this kind of experiment that is pretty cool, I think. And I mean, heck, imagine if you had I was looking on Reddit, some of these guys who were really into it. I mean, one guy, he was like, oh yeah, I'm making $60,000 a month off this thing. And off these funds that he's invested in, and obviously he's probably older. I think he's had at least $1 million or $1 or $2 million, but he was making really good. And I was like, man, I just want to get to that first target of say $5,000 a month. And this isn't a brokerage account. This is not a retirement account. So if I wanted to, if I lost my job, or I was just like, screw this job, I want to go start this on my own business here, or I want to do this or that, then I could still have that $5,000 income coming in each month, assuming that it all doesn't crash or go to crap, or all else held equal is what they say. All being held equal is the economist approach, but which is never going to happen. But the idea is that it would continue to pay out. So these are kind of newer type funds. They've launched kind of beginning of 2024, but it's exciting. It's kind of a new product that's out there.
Cool.
Gonna try it out, see if it works.
Once you approve the process, let me in on it.
Yeah, man. I don't know
once you run your experiment, then we'll have to get together and put our heads together.
Yeah. I don't know if that will help your addiction or not, but at least if it's in a brokerage account, it's money that you can actually have or touch, right? It's not just like.
Well, I mean, and I do have a brokerage account that I do. I got some crypto investments and things like that. That I mean, I do check on a daily basis because it's like. Typically I pull it up at market open and I'll kind of see if anything's running or whatever. That's more like fun.
Yeah.
Right. But everything else I was looking at was not so much fun, but it was just like stressing. Yeah. And I mean, stressing without needing to stress because, we're good. But I like those. Cool. Yeah. Those two are awesome. So my last two are kind of related as well. And these are my starts. So every year, my wife and I individually, we kind of pick a word of the year. And that's kind of the word that we try to focus on and we try to keep in top of mind as we go throughout the year. My word last year was discipline. I wouldn't say that I was perfectly disciplined last year, but having it at top of mind, there was many times where I wanted to do something or not do something. And I had it on a screensaver on my phone. I'm like, oh man, how do I be disciplined in this specific moment? and chose the discipline side of things. So all that said, my word for this year is act or action. I have found that I am a habitual procrastinator. And a lot of times it's procrastinating like little things. Like, how you get in the mail, you get your registration renewals for your car. And it's like, I am notorious for being like, oh, okay, the car expires in 2 months. I'm like, okay, I need to do that. And then I'll just set it on the counter or put it in like the mail filer thing that we have. And then, it's like due in February, it expires. And then like friggin' June comes around and I'm like, oh man, I didn't realize that the registration was expired. And then I'll go back and I'll find this thing and I'm like, oh dude, like what the heck? And then I got to pay like a, $20 late fee or something like that to get it registered.
Oh,
and because I waited so long, I don't have a year. I only have like 8 months until I got to get registered.
But they charge
again.
you for a year. Yeah. They charge you for a full year.
Yeah, but they charge you for the whole year. And I'm like, I've been driving around with expired tags too for the past 4 months.
Riding dirty.
So, so the thing is that it's small things like that. Or like you get you get a bill in the mail. We got a bill a couple years ago from the dentist for like $12. and we were, no. It was for one of our babies when we had a baby. We had, everything was paid, or at least was on a payment plan, everything else. And there was some random bill that was for like $12. And we were like, we'll take care of that. We're busy at that moment. And we just kind of put it off to the side. And it ended up getting like thrown away or something. I think we got like a second notice a couple months later, and we're like, oh man, we really need to pay that. And then because it's $12, it was just like, whatever. And then we just forgot about it. They sent us to collections for $12 because we just didn't pay it. And so it's like, and it ended up not having a huge effect at all because it was related to medical, so it didn't affect our credit. But it's just like stupid things like that. Act whenever you have the opportunity. Like it would have literally taken probably a minute or 2 minutes to just go online and use the HSA card to pay that $12, and then you're done. And then you can literally rip it up, throw it in the trash can. That's done, right? Instead of okay, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do that whatever. And so, so acting whenever you receive a prompting or an opportunity to do something. Right? Don't push off to tomorrow what you can do today. And especially something that could potentially take a minute or 2 minutes to do today. If you push it off, then it's going to be a headache that could potentially take hours to fix, later on.
Well, as it's saying, is an ounce of, what's the word? Of precaution is worth a pound of cure. What's it like? An ounce of it's something. Oh man, I forgot this. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
I think it's precaution or like of preparation is worth a pound of cure or something like that. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. 100%. Prevention or yeah. I understand what you mean. Everybody else out there understands what you mean as well. So even things like, and maybe I'll get a little bit more spiritual here.
An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Yeah, there you go. That's what it is.
Yeah, there you go. So maybe getting a little bit more spiritual in the sense of like, even if I have the feeling like to, hug my kids, or don't pass up the opportunity to say, I love you, or don't, maybe if there's an investment opportunity that comes my way, and I maybe out of fear or whatever, I say, no, I don't want to do that or whatever, right? Sometimes the early bird gets the worm. And so action is something that I want to focus on. Acting, getting things done. My last start is kind of related to that. It will help me to be more action oriented. And that is I want to be more organized. This is, I thrive off of lists. I like to create lists for lots of different things, to-do lists, or, this is what I need to do, like your yard thing, right? Hey, these are the 4 steps these are the things I need to do in early spring and summer and this and this and that. I'll create a list of what I need to do. And then, you know, getting organized is very important. And it will help me to act. And so whether it's, you know, recording dates or writing lists of tasks of things to do, if I have a list of things to do that's written down, and I sit down on the couch and I'm like, oh, you know, okay. Then in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, I've got a list of things to do. Right. But if I just have, and I have it written down, like I know exactly what it is. And so it's almost more, I'm not going to say motivating, but it helps me to be more disciplined, because motivation really is motivation is you really need more discipline over motivation, because motivation will wane, and, you know, a lot of times we're not motivated to do things we don't want to do. Mm-hmm. Discipline is what trumps everything. And so if I have it on a list and I'm sitting there, I'm like, hey, I could be marking stuff off my list right now. And, you know, I'll get up and do it. And so, and I think that just gives me personal fulfillment too, because it's like, man, I was productive today. So be more organized and act. Those are my final 2 starts for the year.
Love it, man. Very good. Those are great.
Yeah.
I think we're set up to have a great year. I think that with that act, though, one thing I was thinking about is like, what actions are you going to take? You know, it's like, if I say like the word, oh, I'm going to sing this year, what am I going to sing, you know? And I think that's the hard part, right? Is figuring out what to sing or how to act, you know? And so think about that in a micro level and also a macro level. Like, what actions do you want to take this week? It's like you mentioned, you know, getting a mattress is at the top of my list. Okay. When are you going to get the mattress by? When is that action going to take place? Is that going to be this month that you're going to go buy a new mattress? Or is that going to be, or like, so those things that you know that you want to do, put those on your list and say, these are actions that I need to take, and put timelines on them. Put deadlines on yourself to say, I'm going to buy a new mattress by the end of this week. I'm going to go over to the place on Friday afternoon, and me and my wife are going to try out this mattress. I'm going to do some research earlier in the week, see what I like. We're going to go land some mattresses. And we're going to drop some serious coin on something that's made for an adult man and woman. And so I think that's the hard part, though, right? Is just like acting is that's a great word. I think that's an awesome thing. And then pairing that with your lists are 2 combos, you know, to where you'll be able to know what to do because you've got that list written down.
Yeah. Well, it's like today, you know, whenever I pulled in from work, the trash cans were still at the street. And, you know, I had like my bag and a jacket or whatever in my hand. And I was like, oh, I had the thought of like, oh, I should really bring those trash cans up. And then I was like, well, I'll just get them later. And then I got out of the car and I was like, no. I was like, I had the thought, I need to do it. So I just did it. And then I didn't have to worry about it later. But I do like,
kids, go get the trash cans.
I do like the timeline. What?
Or just walk in the house and say, kids, go bring the trash cans in.
Yeah. Well, the grass was kind of muddy, and then I got kids walking through the house with me.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, I like putting timeline on things. I think that's definitely true. And it puts a little bit of extra pressure to, get things done.
Especially financial timelines. Like, we need to save up to buy X on this date. You know, we're going to build a fence August of 2025. And that's what we're going to build around our backyard. And we need $3,000 to do it, you know, or whatever, you know, so something like that, you know, where it's like
more like $6,000 now.
Oh, geez, man. That thing has doubled in price since you first priced it out, or tripled.
Yes. Seriously. I actually had a bonus one.
Okay.
That this is kind of a stop and a start at the same time, and this kind of goes along with one of what yours were. But my bonus was put the phone down is what I want to do. So when I'm around other people, when I'm around my kids, when I'm around my wife, when I'm around family, when I'm at work or in public, when I'm driving, right? Things like that. Like just put the phone down, right? Be engaged in the moment with who is in the moment. Obviously, there's time for your phone and there's time to scroll and there's time to whatever, right? But whenever your kids are trying to talk to you and ask you something, is not the time to be, scrolling and quarter of paying attention to what they're saying while you're watching this other video or whatever else. So stop being so, I don't know, addicted to technology and scrolling or social media. And my start is to put the phone down and be more engaged in what I'm doing. That's kind of a continuation of a goal that I had last year. I feel like I was more cognizant of it and just had it at the top of mind. So I did do a little bit better in 2024 with that, but I want to do even better in 2025.
Love it, dude. Dude, you're going to come out this year shining with an 8-pack from all that core work. You're just be like,
oh yeah, dude.
Beaming,
I'm gonna have a V taper in the front and in the back. my lower back's gonna be so strong. People are gonna be like, "Oh, herniated disc, what?"
What did they call that? The unhappy trail.
Yeah,
the hair going down the back.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So cool.
Hey.
Well, I think this has been great. Hopefully, all of you are kind of thinking in the new year. Some people are not that fond of, New Year's resolutions and specific goals or whatever else. But hey, if you're not, maybe think of a couple things that you could stop doing that you are currently doing that might not be building your creed, and think of a couple things that you should start doing that would help to build and develop that creed.
And if you don't like New Year's resolutions, listen to this episode in June or July.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, you could have a mid-year resolutions.
You can listen to it anytime.
Monday resolutions,
Exactly.
Tuesday resolutions, whatever you want.
Yeah.
So as always, we encourage you to grow, to get better, to build that blueprint for the next generation, not just in your words, but also in your actions. And as always, let's build that creed together.
Let's do it.